In 2020, Land Rover refreshed the Discovery. Yes, I also missed this information because, like most potential customers of the British brand, I was only interested in the Defender. What's new about the Discovery and why does it lose out to the Defender? Let's find out.
Launched more than 30 years ago, this family SUV was originally designed to slot between the utilitarian Defender and the luxury Range Rover. The Discovery competed against then-popular Japanese off-roaders, which spent more and more time on tarmac doing school and grocery runs. Today, of course, the market is dominated by smaller and cheaper crossovers with rims that scratch at the mere side of a curb. Meanwhile, larger and more expensive SUVs, especially if they are somewhat capable off-road, have become even more premium or just more expensive.
To complicate matters even further, we now have entry models for less affluent clientele to get a taste of what it's like in the premium segment. In JLR's case, we're talking about cars like the Discovery Sport or the Range Rover Evoque. And speaking of JLR as a whole, in 2023 the company announced it's becoming a house of brands. This means a clear division between the Range Rover, Defender and Discovery sub-brands derived from Land Rover brand and the Jaguar brand.
Range Rover is pretty much self-explanatory: the full-size Range Rover and the Range Rover Sport, which are large luxury SUVs currently being built on the new MLA platform. And then there's the smaller Evoque, which shares a platform with Land Rover Discovery Sport and the Jaguar E-Pace. There is also the Range Rover Velar, which is built on the D7 platform, the same platform used by the Discovery and the current generation Defender. According to Automotive News Europe, the new Defender is likely to move up to the MLA platform, while the next Discovery will remain on the D7 platform. Why is this significant? Because today, customers are excited about the new Defender and they find no reason to buy the Discovery. The Defender is slightly larger, has roughly comparable performance on tarmac, is better off-road, costs similar money and looks like a real off-roader rather than a soccer mom car. That's why JLR wants to position the once utilitarian Defender clearly above the Discovery. But before that happens, let's see if and why the Discovery is still worth considering today.
If anything has changed on the outside, I'll let you play the Find 10 Differences game. The comment section is all yours. The most important changes are under the bonnet and inside. Now, I can't open the bonnet to shoot the stereotypical engine stand-up segment because the opening mechanism seems to be broken, as is stereotypical of Land Rovers. Anyway, a few years ago, Land Rover got rid of the four-cylinder diesels and instead we have a four-cylinder petrol engine. That's the base engine with 300 horsepower. It was added to the Discovery range. The 3-liter petrol now makes 20 more horsepower. That's 360 in total and is a mild hybrid. The 3-liter diesels are also mild hybrids, but I got the P360 here. Pros. Compared to the pre-facelift engine without the mild hybrid, the P360 is more fuel efficient. And I don't mean catalog numbers, because these are similar, but real-world fuel consumption, I managed to keep it under 11 liters per 100 kilometers on dual carriageways versus 13-14 liters in the past. In the city traffic, I got about 12 liters, which again for an SUV with a 3-liter petrol engine is pretty good. I know these days diesels are scum of the earth, but at least in Europe, a car of this size should really have a diesel engine.
Performance. The manufacturer promises 0 to 100 km per hour in 6.9 seconds. I got just over 7 seconds with the transmission in normal or sport modes. The Discovery doesn't have any other sporty settings because that's not what this car is for. In theory, the Discovery should have off-road capabilities similar to the Defender. This test unit is equipped with an optional locking rear differential, but since it also comes on optional 22-inch rims, one of which I scuffed while entering a narrow parking lot, I'll just do my diagonal approach test, which the Discovery doesn't notice. Air suspension is standard, ground clearance can be raised to 283 mm.
The new 360 camera system will come in handy off-road or more likely in the urban jungle, but even using it I curbed the front right rim when doing a 90 degrees turn, left turn, to the parking barrier to get the ticket from the machine. The Discovery is 2 meters wide without the mirrors. I recall pointing out problems with maneuvering in tight places in the pre-facelift model, which I reviewed a few years ago. Defender may not have better turning circle, but it usually comes on smaller rims with more sidewall. As for handling, the Discovery can be fast, but generally it's more of a comfortable long-distance cruiser. The Disco rides and handles more like an SUV than an off-roader. The Defender is more off-roady on the road, although it's still not as rough as a pickup truck. The Discovery also has much better soundproofing than the Defender. This is probably at least partly due to better aerodynamics. Around 120 km per hour, wind noise is becoming noticeable in the Defender, while the Discovery can go much faster and still be reasonably quiet. Obviously, it's not Range Rover quiet, but much better than the Defender.
Driving aids are surprisingly unrefined. On stretches where there are roadworks and cars are driving over the white lines, the adaptive cruise control sometimes stops responding to the vehicle in front and the car starts accelerating. The lane keeping assist system intervenes far too late, and I did not find settings to make it more sensitive. The blind spot warning system sometimes goes berserk when I'm going back from the left to the right lane after overtaking a car in the right lane and another vehicle is approaching at a much higher speed in the left lane behind me. Forward visibility is not bad, but rear visibility is limited by the headrests in the third row, if open, and the middle headrest in the second row. The Discovery designers must have realized too late, because even in the pre-facelift model there was a sub-menu in the infotainment system to fold the headrests remotely.
And while we're on the subject of the infotainment system, the facelifted model gets the new PV Pro system. Along with it is a new steering wheel, like in the Defender, and a digital instrument cluster, like in the Defender. The new display has finally 21st century resolution. Yay! And the PV Pro system itself is relatively easy and logical to use, although I would prefer more physical buttons for certain functions. Speaking of physical buttons and dials, we still have physical-ish knobs for the AC and heated seats and ventilated seats, which is nice. As far as other AC controls, they are now touch sensitive-ish, and you have to like really press them to get the haptic feedback and to make them work. And this panel actually conceals a little storage compartment. The button to release it used to be here because there used to be some other button on the other side to make it symmetrical, so now it's in the center. And Land fucking Rover.
I think JLR got rid of the pop-up rotary gear selector from all its models by now. It's back to the regular gear shifter, and this one is the fancy type like on the new Range Rovers. I like there's a separate physical dial to toggle between off-road modes, but if I want to raise the ground clearance without selecting one of the off-road modes, I have to find this option on the screen. The cup holders are large and there is a storage compartment underneath. There used to be a USB port in there, but now it's gone. Instead, the USB ports are now just below the center console armrest lid. To use them, you probably have to get like a 90-degree tip cable. Under the armrest is a fridge and a flat cubby, maybe to store the car registration. The glove box seems to be smaller than I remember it in the pre-facelift model, but maybe it's just my memory playing tricks on me. There is also a second glove box with a spring-loaded lid which closes before you put something inside. The door pockets are large. The doors cover the sills.
No major changes in the rear. Still, plenty of legroom and headroom. The door pockets are large, there are 2 climate zones, but it seems like Land Rover couldn't be bothered to change USB-A ports in the back to USB-C. First I thought that at least with these new click-and-go accessories you'll get USB-C, but no, you get USB-A. And for some reason the extra air vents, which used to be on the B pillars, are now up on the ceiling.
This car has a total of 5 ISOFIX anchor points, 1 in the front passenger seat, 2 in the second row, and 2 in the third row. Before we get to the third row, I have to mention a problem and an ad hoc solution to it. For reasons unknown to me, the electrically operated seats in the third row open, but do not stay open. Instead, they fold back down. A workaround to this is to hold them and force them to remain open while the electric motor is trying to close them. Not ideal. Unfortunately, the Discovery is not known for its reliability. Maybe it's a good thing Land Rover recently introduced a 5-year warranty. In any case, once you manage to unfold the third row seats, adults should be careful when getting in because you can hit the second row backrest with your chest, right on the hard plastic cover for the buttons to open the seats for easier access. Ironic, I know.
In the third row, even with the second seats pushed all the way back, which you will see in the cutaways because they don't work right now, I still have room for my knees. I'm 175 centimeters tall. I also have headroom, but as usual in the third row, my thighs are in the air. There are air conditioning vents. The side seats are heated. Well, obviously there are only 2 of them. There are some storage compartments here with USB ports, and I don't know, I could store a phone here, but not a phone that's actually plugged in. I'd rather have proper cup holders instead of these rather tight ones down here by the floor.
The boot. Land Rover provides capacity up to the roof, which is 1137 liters in 5-seat configuration and 258 liters in 5-seat configuration. Realistically, it's about half of that to the window line. When you open the boot using the remote control, a bench pretending to be split tailgate opens as well. It's nice to sit on to change your muddy shoes, but it's harder to reach deeper into the boot. I like that there is a place to attach the cargo cover. On the left side there are buttons for folding and unfolding the seats in every possible configuration. I'd probably get by with just half of those buttons as long as the third row doesn't go crazy on me. There are also buttons to lower the rear suspension for easier access and to unfold the towing hook. Beside the 2-liter petrol engine version, which can tow up to 3 tons, all other engine variants can tow up to 3.5 tons. Prices of the Land Rover Discovery jumped about 25,000 euros since its debut in 2017. Currently, the cheapest Discovery starts at almost 75,000 euro. This is the top trim HSE P360, which, with options, costs 110,000 euro. And the fact that 110,000 euro doesn't even include the optional spare wheel in a supposedly off-road vehicle is broad daylight robbery.
In a vacuum, the Discovery is a sensible family SUV, but having to choose between the Disco and the Defender, I'd go with the latter any day. And how do you like the refreshed Land Rover Discovery? Let me know in the comment section below.
If you like my sarcastic, down-to-earth and possibly mildly amusing car reviews, join me every Friday at 3 p.m. Central European Time, and don't forget to subscribe and like this video as it helps me with the YouTube algorithm. Thanks for watching, and I will see you in the next one.